Hello everyone, welcome to the August meeting of the South Planning Committee, Somerset Council. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. I've got Councillor Andy Kendall, who's unwell, so I think our best wishes go with him, and Sue Osborne. And I believe Councillor Oliver Patrick also gave a standing apology. Do we have any other apologies that people are aware of? Okay, moving swiftly on then. You will have had in your pack the draft minutes of the previous meeting held on the 25th of July 2023. Is it your wish that I should sign those as a true record of the meeting? Agreed. Thank you very much. Item 3 on the agenda is declarations of interest. Can I ask members if they have any declarations of interest, noting that your parish and town council interests are already declared? Oh, excellent. And public questions. Have we got any questions? No questions? So we will move on to the first substantive item of the meeting. Item 5, planning application 23/00850/DPO, land at OS 4575, Cartway, Somerton. Just if I could quickly recap a little bit. We're not expecting, because I've forgotten the domestics. We're not expecting a fire drill this evening. If the alarm sounds, please leave the building through the emergency exits. The meeting is being recorded. It's not being streamed this time due to a technical issue. But members of the public should be aware that they are being recorded. And if there's any problem with that, please let me know. If you could switch your phones to silent for the duration of the meeting, that would be welcome. There is a public questionnaire which I believe you've had emailed to you, but there are also copies lying around. So it would be appreciated if members of the public and members of the committee could complete the questionnaire at the end of the meeting. For the planning application, I'll introduce the application number, then the planning officer will introduce the application with relevant updates and provide a visual presentation so that to aid members' understanding. I will then call on public speakers to present in accordance with the published public speaking arrangements. I'll then ask members and officers if they have any points of clarification on those points raised by public speakers. Members will then be able to ask technical questions of officers, and the committee will then discuss and debate the application. They may, during that, seek further clarification on particular points from officers regarding the application or on points raised by other speakers in the main debate through me. Officers will then respond to issues and questions raised, and the committee will take a decision by vote. So if we could move into the application, Colin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Just waiting for the slides to come up. This is an application to vary a Section 106 agreement to remove the requirement to provide lighting to the link footpath. Just as an update to the committee, there has been some confusion in terms of the third-party representations as set out in the committee report. To recap, 112 neighbours were consulted by letter. The recorded results are generated from our online comments are 1 representation, neither supporting or objecting, 5 objections, 8 supporting. Confusion has arisen that the third parties objecting have stated that they actually are objecting to the lighting being installed. So this means that there are 14 letters supporting that lighting should not be installed and no third party objection. In summary, the majority of the comments and objections are centred around the concerns for wildlife, particularly bats, and the desire to avoid light pollution in the area. Many residents and professionals recommend conducting comprehensive surveys and adhering to ecological guidelines before considering any outdoor lighting strategy. This is the site. Site. Our mapping shows that it's still under construction, partially completed. The footpath runs along the southern side of the site into an existing track, and from this point onwards it's already surfaced. So it's this part that's going to be surfaced. That surfacing has already been agreed, and it will be a hogging surface, which is a partly permeable surface. It's an aerial photograph showing its location around Somerton. Zoomed in slightly. It's Cartway Lane and Langport Road here. This is the approved layout of the site for 59 dwellings. And the footpath runs along here and then onto the unsurfaced part of the track down just here. An ecology report has been submitted with the application. However, the survey area does not include the track outside the main site, which is this. The report states that it is considered that as long as the external lighting strategy is effectively designed to minimise any light spill onto the boundary habitats, then impact on any foraging and commuting activity should be avoided, and therefore further activity surveys for bats are not considered necessary at this time. Just key considerations. During discussions regarding the outline application, it was considered that a safe and usable access into the town centre was important, as walking along Cartway Lane would not be particularly safe given the lack of a footpath. It was considered that the upgrading of the existing bridle-way would provide a usable and safe route towards the town centre. The benefits of installing footpath lighting is to provide a safe route for pedestrians at night, encourage walking instead of the use of private car trips, compliance with local plan policy EQ2, which is creating safe environments, addressing crime prevention and community safety, EQ5, which should provide and or maintain opportunities for enhanced, attractive walking and cycling routes linking urban areas and the wider countryside, policy TA5, which is securing inclusive, safe and convenient access on foot, cycle and by public and private transport that addresses the needs of all. The benefits for not installing footpath lighting: safeguarding bat foraging routes, maintaining wildlife corridors, preventing disturbance of hedges and trees through installation of lighting poles and subsequent removal of tree and hedge growth, preventing light shining into neighbours' properties, gardens and windows, reducing light pollution, reducing energy consumption and climate reduction in the potential antisocial gathering. That's ends my presentation, Chair.
Thank you. I have two speakers listed. The first being Mo Fletcher, a member of Somerton Town Council. Would you like to take a seat in the middle? And you'll have 3 minutes
Right.
to speak.
Thank you for being prepared to listen to me. I am serious, but a little bit of a side effect. AI, artificial insemination, artificial intelligence. This morning I tried to get onto the planning portal at 5 to 8, it wasn't available. At 5 past 8, it was. Do robots have a sex life and play poker before 8 o'clock? Who knows? Anyway, AI, all-inclusive, and that's very important. The inclusive nature of the development of 59 houses should provide safe pedestrian access down to Langport Road, right? To the bus stop, to the playing fields, which are opposite, to the play areas, to the skate park, to the nearest hostelry, which is on the recreation ground, and it should allow parents with pushchairs or old folk with walkers who don't have public transport and don't have their own transport to be able to safely access what should be their right to access. So here we come. AI, all inclusive. Now we know there are bats, and we don't really want bats interfered with, and I agree with that as well. But there could be low-level lighting down that path, right? And that would help security and safety. It's not an impossible job to do. It's very possible. There are lots of different sorts of low-level lighting that could be installed, right? It really concerns me that we're putting people so far down the list that we're putting them in danger. Now I know that some of the people on the estate said they didn't want lighting put in. Some of the people that live on the track that the bridleway goes onto don't really want to see that access used because it's interfering with their privacy, which it is. I walked down there this morning. I walked down there many times. I walked down that track this morning, and yes, you go down the bridle path, you get onto the track. Once that bridle path and part of the track is actually surfaced, it will be a lot safer for people to go down with wheelchairs, with pushchairs. I'm very aware of people in Somerton who do not have transport because I'm a member of Somerton's Good Neighbours. And so I do a lot of transport for people going to get their prescriptions, their shopping, their doctor's appointments. And please, please, think of people. Think of all inclusivity. It's very, very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for being well within the allowed time. The other person who wanted to speak is Divisional Member Councillor Dean Robert.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. We're looking at Bridle Cartway Lane. Cartway Lane is funny actually. We've got a housing development there with footpaths with streetlights on, but the footpath goes nowhere, so you have to use the bridleway. The bridleway, as Mo has said, is the only access to the town centre. It's the access to the bus stop, as she said. It's the access to the recreation ground. We need to put some form of lighting in there. I don't care what type of lighting they put in there, personally, to be honest with you, but we need to put something in there. I'm here tonight to say I hope members will agree with us that we do need to put that in. One other thing as well that actually slightly irritates me, when a developer wants planning permission, they do everything. They sign a 106 agreement, they agree all conditions, and they keep coming back then and amending it. And I think we need to stop doing that. So I would hope the members of this committee will see that safety is the main priority in this case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The third and final speaker is the applicant, Andy Catamon.
Thank you, Chair and members. I'm certainly not going to take the allotted 3 minutes. The application is development is well through the construction phase, probably 2/3 occupied, and a large number more reserved pending completion later on this year. And before submitting this application, it was something that we discussed with residents who were very keen to avoid the lighting columns being provided, not for any other reason that the location of the ecology report set out at the outset is very clear that lighting should not be provided to protect bats and such like. I wasn't involved back in 2015 on the original application, so I can't comment on what the discussions and the debate was at that time. We have been in regular dialogue with Highways, trying to agree the Section 38 agreement, and they have advised that the lighting and lighting columns and wires and everything would need to be dug in a certain way, which would potentially damage the roots of the trees along the path. Highways are also very agreeable to it not being illuminated from an ecology point of view. Ecologists have said that it shouldn't be lit if at all possible. And this is not trying to change what was agreed back at the outset. This is actually responding to the latest legislation that is seeking to protect bats and ecology and other such things. That's the purpose of the application, Chair, and that's the reason that we're obviously sat here discussing it this evening. And I appreciate your time and that of members and look forward to hearing the debate.
I'm afraid the time for directed participation has passed. I saw your hand up here, so
I've just passed round a picture then.
Well, could you pass it to the planning officer, and if he wants to, he can introduce it. But I think it's important we stick within the protocols.
It's a picture of the garden I taken this morning. We can put power up there without interfering with the trees.
Do you feel it's appropriate to introduce that?
Comments on it, but
I think if you could comment on the representation made by the speaker, that would help.
I've been shown a photograph of the bridle way, and there certainly appears to be sufficient room to put some cables and things without interfering with trees.
Okay, thank you for that. Do you have any other points you want to make with respect to the issues already raised by speakers? In which case, it's members' questions.
Thank you.
Tim and then Henry. And then Mike.
Thank you, Chair. Whilst I understand all the reasoning in this, certainly bats and the ecology very, very important, I do have some serious reservations. I think, start at the beginning, I think that the point that was made by Mo Fletcher about bat-friendly lighting, I've certainly seen myself. There are low pillar lights that are available that don't really interfere with the bats that don't nearly as much. I'm also very concerned about the active travel. Now, I'm just wondering if it's possible to put up the slide of the plan. I just want to emphasise, if I could just quickly come up and so this Cartway Lane up here only has pavement from here to here. This section and that section, very narrow. Sorry, go back to my question. Oh, sorry, no, I'm maybe out of sequence, Chair. My apologies.
Okay, perhaps we can save that for later. Henry.
I don't have a statement or question either, sorry.
Mike?
I do have a question. The one report is missing out of here, obviously public safety. Is any comments from the police? I can't see any. We had a very similar application where an applicant tried to withdraw streetlights in, and the police played a very heavy part in determining how that went. So why have we not got one here?
Yeah, the crime prevention officer wasn't consulted on this.
Why not?
I don't have an answer for you for that.
Seeing it's public safety, shouldn't we have done that? We've concentrated on the animals, but we've not concentrated on the humans.
Fair point.
Martin?
Yeah. Is it possible to, if we were to say the lighting should be put in, the lighting should be put in, is it possible to condition that it should be low level, low voltage, etc., etc.? I don't know whether that's conditionable or not, Chair.
Would you like to respond?
This is simply agreeing to the change or
Right.
refusing the change.
Thank you.
But the details can still be agreed.
Thank you.
I think it might be worthwhile. I'm sorry, you've had your.
I have an email from your officers saying they've consulted the crime prevention officer. I have it sat here. So,
Oh, I can just check through the records.
Okay, while you're doing that,
I apologise, Chair.
while you're doing that, if I could just draw members' attention to the officer report. I think the matter of the withdrawal of a planning condition the variation of section 106 was actually covered within the report. Jenny, did you have a question?
I did, but I think Martin's covered it because my question was going to be about are we able to, we're just here to say you can take that requirement off, not to say we want you to put in the lower level, either you have it or you don't.
That is correct. That's the question before us. Colin, have you been able to find any?
Just trying to our system.
I'm just wondering whether we ought to just have a short recess while the veracity of the advice from the crime prevention. Okay, so we'll have a recess until 6 p.m. Then recommence. The question, if you recall, was have we consulted the police crime prevention officer? And Colin.
We have, and we've chased, from what I can see from the records, 3 times and had no response.
Okay, thank you. I have a question. The survey carried out in support or presented in papers in support of this application to refresh and validate the ecological assessment. Am I right in thinking that is a whole site survey for the housing area and doesn't produce any specifics about the bridle way?
Yeah, that is correct, yes.
And am I also right in saying that it specifically rules out there being any roosts or foraging sites?
It doesn't rule that out, no. Because the survey wasn't carried out over the
paragraph 3.6.1, possibly. And we'll give at it. The conclusion from that was 3.6.3, the last paragraph.
You said none of the trees within the site are considered likely to offer potential roosting features suitable for bats, and therefore no further rooster surveys of the trees on site are required at this time.
That was what I was coming to. And 3.6.3, the last paragraph.
As I pulled the last sentence out of that, and it is considered that as long as the external lighting strategy is effectively designed to minimise any light spill onto the boundary habitats, then impact of any foraging and commuting activity should be avoided, and therefore further activity survey for bats are not considered necessary at this time.
And that's the applicant's evidence in support of it disturbing bats.
Correct.
Okay. The other thing I would like to ask is, am I right in believing that for the reserved matters associated with this development, there was a bat lighting condition, for want of a shorthand phrase, as condition 2, and that has been discharged?
That is correct.
And would I also be right in saying that that was discharged on the basis of the design actually met the lighting requirements to be bat friendly, again for shorthand, by this authority? So we've actually got a design for the main estate which is bat friendly.
Correct.
And that the officer report itself says that there was an agreement in place with the highways that says that it would be possible to deliver bat-friendly lighting.
That is correct.
And that the county ecologist who, sorry, it's actually in Somerset Council ecologist, asked the question after seeking clarification as to what this application is about. They said, would it not be possible to design an acceptable lighting scheme?
SES ecologists did say that it would be potentially possible to design a lighting scheme that was friendly to that. So. And finally, am I right in thinking that policies TP5, EQ4 and EQ2 all indicate that this authority's local plan seeks to provide, again for want of shorthand, accessible non-car pedestrian and other non-car route access, particularly to town centres? That is correct.
And the paragraph, I think it's 82 of the MPPF also calls for non-car design.
Again, correct.
Does that not therefore mean that the test of whether the obligation is useful is substantially supported by policy and by the town council and by people who made representations in the original at the original outline stage of this application, and that we haven't actually had any reason to question why that usefulness has gone away?
That clause is still useful, yes.
Thank you. Councillor Kenson.
Sorry, could you bring up the picture of the area for me again? And then would you be able to tell me, so the bottom end of the roadway, so at the bottom end of the planning application, where the trees are marked, is that lit there? Yes. So as you're looking down at the piece that we're going to theoretically light at the top all the way down, and then you get to the end of the site, and then there's a bit, that's it there, is that lit?
Up until I'm trying to actually pull up my presentation. It's
Sorry.
it's up until this point here.
Colin, can you put the mic on? You
Fine,
can?
fine.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, it's up until this point here. This part is already metalled out, already surfaced to access this house here. So its lighting will be down along this section here.
Oh, right.
It's fine.
Thank you. So they're going to light the whole lot down to where it's then thank you.
So yeah, so the lighting and the surfacing of the track goes to goes to that section there.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? In that case, would somebody like to open with a I think as Councillor Kirby has already made a start, let's invite him to continue the debate.
Thank you, Chair. Nice to be in sequence at last. So, really, really good from some of those questions. It sounds to me, in relation to bat-friendly lighting, that's already been conditioned. So that was, I think, one of the points is could we have that? But it sounds like that was already what was agreed. Just to go back to what I was saying about the safety aspect on Cartway Lane. So we have a full and well-lit pavement outside of the development. It ends where the development is, and we have two fields, as you can see to the north and south there. If you're walking on Cartway Lane, that is a very narrow lane. There's an industrial estate at the other end with a lot of large vehicles going up and down it. It's actually quite a dangerous part of Somerton. We really do not want... Yeah.
Sorry, can I just clarify? Cartway Lane?
It's the vertical one on the left of the development, absolutely, thank you, Chair. So very, very dangerous. We do really need to make sure that people are not using that, and thus it seemed absolutely logical to take people using an active travel plan out of the back of the estate. So to me, it's an integral part of this development and the infrastructure that was promised. So we have, as you can see there, some prime land for, I believe, future development. And where we are putting the infrastructure in now, that infrastructure has to be future-proof. We, within the next few years, are likely to see other applications in, and I think this, looking at the direction of growth of Somerton, is where the housing pressure is likely to come. And we do need to make sure that we are future-proofing that particular area, and it needs to be safe. Certainly, if I'm quite lucky, I've got 2 boys. If I had a daughter, I would not be happy if she was having to walk up and down that lane. It's a long, very dark, you know, and I can understand people saying they don't want it in their back garden. They're probably not the ones that would end up being using it. So I just want to go back to what Councillor Fletcher said. It should be all inclusive. I also just want to touch on light pollution. Dark skies are something that I think we all should be quite passionate about. It's just not something that exists there. Behind there we've got an industrial estate, and we don't have dark skies in that particular area of Somerton. It's becoming quite urban. My final thought on this is about the public purse. I believe if we do not put in the lights, or if we condition for these lights not to go in, that the pressure on Somerton Town Council and this particular council will increase. And I think that at some point we would then have to put the lights in ourselves, and that would then come out of the public purse, which I don't think is right when actually the developer should be doing it now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to speak? Henry.
Mr. Chairman, I want to remind everybody in this room we have signed a climate change emergency. And from the point of view of putting in lights, and I'm sorry to disabuse you all, I live in a village called North Cambury. It has 300 people living in that village. We have not a single light. We have a main lane that goes through, which carries lorries and agricultural traffic in large quantities. The last 2 DLFs, DFLs, for those who don't know, down from London, that came and complained to the parish council. The parish council bought them torches, and that sorted their problem out. And I really feel that on a bridle way, and this is a bridle way, we need to be considering the lighting situation. On the other hand, I cannot bear for developers to sign 106 agreements and then try and renege on them, which is what we have here. I'm therefore going to not vote against, but abstain. But I do think that we need to, in future, take into account the carbon situation. Thank you.
Councillor Best, you're looking twitchy. We wanted to say that.
No.
Okay, I'll say something and I'll respond to that specifically. Quite clearly, our need is to provide a 24/7 365 pedestrian access route, and for the very good reasons, policy-supported reasons that Councillor Curley outlined, and which I hope you picked up from the questions I asked. I don't accept that there is a climate emergency negative to this, simply because for each one of those non-car journeys, you're taking kilos of CO2 out, whereas it will be grams of CO2 to like modern lighting that is bat-friendly, low-level lighting to the British standard. So, and there is an installation cost. I recognise there's an installation cost, but actually there's an installation cost to the metalling of the pathway anyway. So I just cannot see that there is a substantial delta one way or the other from lighting to ongoing carbon footprint. However, I'm going to go straight back to the officer report, which refers, in the consideration of the planning issues, to the useful purpose test, and I think the debate has clearly, to me, included an awful lot of useful purpose, We have multiple policies, including national policies, supporting that useful purpose. So it is a planning purpose. And it simply, in the officer report, advises that the agreement should continue without modification if all of its provisions relate to current planning objectives. We have before us an application to vary. We don't have to vary if the reason for the original obligation remains. And of course, the other thing which is pertinent here is the original obligation was not contested at the time, and was introduced by Highways Officer advice. So that's my Jenny. Jenny, do you want to say something?
He was looking at you then, but it was told him to bed.
Yeah.
Hello, you'll have to excuse me, I'm having a tropical moment. I have a path very similar to this that I have to walk back and forth to. If I go to a parish council meeting, I quite often walk there. I walk back in the dark. It's not safe. It's not nice. I'm trying to be good, Henry. I walk to my council meeting and then I walk back in the dark with my phone torch. But if I see anybody coming, I'm also hiding because I don't want my phone to get stolen off me. But I'm also walking with my keys in my hand in case someone jumps out of me. So I'm for the lighting, sorry. It would just, it makes you feel safer.
And not because I'm a woman, because I'm a person.
Do we have anyone else who wants to contribute to the debate? In which case, I would like to ask Colin, sorry, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, I'd just like to propose that we do not vary.
I'm happy to second that for the reasons that it fails the test given the officer report. We have a motion before us, but before we put that to the vote, can I ask the officer to come back and comment on any of the debate issues that we've had?
Thank you, Chair. I don't think there's anything I need to add to this at all. Thank you.
In which case, the proposal is that we reject the application to vary the Section 106 agreement for the reasons given in the debate. Can I have a show of hands, all of those in favour of rejecting it? All of those who are against rejecting it? All of those who are abstaining? Thank you very much. Clearly carried for refusal. And that's the last item on the agenda. Do we have the dates of the next meeting in the? Yeah, the dates of the next meeting is after the. One moment, please. Can I just have your attention for a moment? Just a little question. We have currently got the 2nd of January down as the January planning committee meeting, and the question is, do we want to bring it forward to the 19th of December? What's your feeling?
It would normally, the calendar would be the 26th of December, obviously, probably. So at the moment, the calendar's put it to the 2nd of January, which is the Tuesday after the New Year. Would people rather bring it forward to the 19th of December?
Those who strongly think it should move to the 19th, put your hands up. Those who think it's okay on the 2nd, put your hands up. Those who think it should go somewhere else.
So at the moment, nobody wants to move to the 19th then?
It's a majority against.
All right, yeah, okay.
Thank you ever so much for your forbearance, folks.
All right, yeah.